All right, how's it going today, everyone? I get questions of every once in a while about, or someone will see a video that I do, and I'll talk about the rep, or people ask how many reps or sets did you do, and what was the rep scheme like, or whatever. And there's so many different ways to sets, reps, progressions with your training. We're going to kind of dive into a few of those, or different ways that I like to do things with my sets and rep schemes and progressions, and how you don't have to do just the simple one, which you'll start out with is the basic straight sets, where you have a specific prescribed number of sets and a number of reps. The most basic one is 3 by 10. You always hear 3 by 10 this, 3 by 10 that, and of course 3 by 10 can work. But again, that is just one rep scheme. 3 by 10 on a bench press, 3 by 10 on a squat, on a push press, on a deadlift, or whatever the exercise is. 3 by 10, 3 by 8, 5 by 5, 3 by 5, 10 by 3. Whatever it is, it's just a straight set. So that basically means you are doing, I always put the number, some people do it different, where they put the reps first and then the sets. When I'm programming, I always put the sets first. Three sets of 10 reps, 3 by 10, or 5 by 5, or 3 by 5, or 4 by 3, or whatever that is. That straight sets and reps. And then you typically progress as the weeks go on. Maybe I'll keep doing 3 by 10, or 3 by 8, or 5 by 5 each week, and try and add small amounts of weight each week. Maybe you'll go from 3 by 10 one week, 3 by 8, 3 by 6, 3 by 5, whatever it may be. That could be another way of progressing. You're decreasing the volume throughout the week, but you're increasing intensity. Or you could start 3 by 5 and then work your way up, so you're increasing the volume as you go up. And that's just the straight sets. That's a simple way to program. It's maybe the most fundamental way you see in all the personal training or fitness textbooks. So just by this, that sets by whatever amount of reps, the 3 by 10. We'll just use that as our main example. And of course, that, like I said, that can work. There's nothing inherently wrong with doing 3 by 10 or 3 by 8 or 5 by 5, but it's the thinking that is the only way to do things where it gets wrong. And that's by far not the only way to set up sets and reps. It can get pretty boring, honestly, if you just do that all the time. I've done that for years and years, and it's like, what the heck? This is good. There's got to be better ways. And then as I got more into training myself and becoming a coach myself and working, doing other programs with other coaches, you find that there are plenty of different ways to set up your sets and reps for that individual workout, or throughout an entire program, or whatever it is you're doing. So again, we have the straight sets, that 3 sets by 10 reps. You can do that for each exercise. You can change it up. One, maybe your main exercise is a 3 sets of 5. Then your next exercise is 4 sets of 6, and then some accessories are 3 by 10, or whatever it is. You can set this up, and there's infinite different ways you can set this up just within your workout. You could do all 3 sets of 10, all 5 sets of 5, or you could do different variations of straight sets throughout the workout. So that is the main way people look at training and how to set up a set and rep scheme. But that is not the only way, and it's probably not the most effective way. One of my favorite ways, especially on like heavier days, is I learned this from had that time period where I was big into the West Side method, or conjugate, which there are two different things. West Side is conjugate, but conjugate is not necessarily West Side. West Side can be an example of it, but conjugate is just training a lot of different qualities throughout at all times. So you're training speed, strength, power, hypertrophy. You're training all that at the same time in the same program. But again, the method they use in that would be you're working up to a heavy set or a max set. And this isn't saying like your 1 rep max. It could be a 1 rep max, but it's that heavy set for that day. So some people might call it a top set. So like the example, what did I do? I worked up today. I was trap bar deadlifting. I worked up to a heavy 3 rep max for that day. Does that mean that's my heaviest 3 rep max ever? No, because it wasn't. It felt I was worked up to 385 today. Is that my heaviest? No, I've done over 400 before, but today 385 felt like probably 500. It was moving pretty slow. At least I felt it. I haven't looked back on the videos to see, but it felt a lot heavier than it was. I don't know, just tired or beat down or just kind of zapped the energy from the sprints I was doing this morning before that. So it could be many different things, and that's why I like the working to a rep max. And this could be a 1 rep max, a 2 rep max, 3 rep max. It could be any rep. It could be a 20 rep max. You could work up to that for the day on that. I usually typically do it for one exercise. Your main heavy exercise that you want to progress in that training session, that phase of training or whatever it may be. So like I said, it could be a squat, it could be a bench press, a deadlift, a pull-up, or some sort of row. Really anything, honestly. Just you can get creative. That's what training is. There are no rules with training. But working up to a heavy rep max. So 3 rep max for the day, and then you're good. You could be good, but a lot of times I'll do a drop set or a few drop sets. So what a drop set would be is, say let's work up to that 385. That's my 3 rep max for the day. Maybe I want to add a couple drop sets in. So maybe I do 3 drop sets of that, of 90% of that or 80% of that. So you figure out what 80, 90% or however much weight is. Maybe you just want to take 20% weight off of that. So take 20% off that 385 and then do 2 or 3 more sets of 3 or however many drop sets you're going to do. And that can be one way. That's a drop set. That's how a drop set works. So you work up to a heavy top set or a rep max set for the day. Then you take some weight off. Again, this could be anything. It could be 80%, 90%. You could take 20, 25% off, whatever it may be. You can figure that out. You can come up with that, or a coach can come up with that for you. And then you do those sets. Or it could be in a lot of times a drop set I'll do work up to that heavy rep max, so 2, 3, 4, 5 rep max, whatever it may be. And then I'll do 1 drop set of as many reps as possible with good form, with taking 25% of the weight off or whatever it may be. So you take some weight off and then you just pump out reps, get a lot of volume in that way. So that could be another way to do it. Again, this is just one that works rep max and then add some drop sets. So you could mix and match that. So that's another infinite ways of sets and rep schemes that you can do to progress training, and so you don't get as bored or stale or maybe come to hit a plateau. So adding in these things. So we got that with drop sets. Supersets would be another one. So I like to say, we could say supersets are typically it's 2 exercises back to back. So you do, and there's different, again, you can set these up anyway. There's no rules, like I said, but typically you'll do like opposite. One way is to do like an opposite muscle group. So if I'm doing a push-up, and then I'll do my set of push-ups. So maybe I'll do, boom, 1 set of 15 push-ups. Then I'll rest a little bit, and then go into some TRX or ring rows. So that push and then a pull. Something like that could be a superset. Or it could be a superset that's a contrast set. So maybe it's a heavy squat followed by some sort of jump. So you're doing something heavy, then something unweighted or fast. There's a million different sets. But I like the supersets are complex sets, kind of that mixture of multiple exercises, and then you rest after you're done with all three of them. Yes, you get a little bit of rest changing the exercises and whatnot, but you take that longer rest. So, like the contrast sets or complex sets, supersets, the terms I've seen intertwined and used, again, the terminology is not the big thing here. You can intertwine them. People use different names for different things, and whatever, they make up their own names for certain things because they want to say they claimed it or whatever. But it's all similar where you're using multiple exercises. So you see like in a program, maybe say 1A and 1B, or 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. However many exercises are in that superset or that contrast set. And then you'd rest after it. So one method of that is the contrast. So typically contrast is like as I mentioned, a heavier mixed with lighter, or a slower and then a faster. Things I've been playing around with, even faster than fast, or weighted and unweighted. So maybe it's the same movement. Maybe it's a squat and then a squat jump, or a depth drop. Or what's the one I've been playing with lately is a overcoming isometric squat. So hooking up a belt to my waist, pulling against my rack in my basement that's bolted to the floor so it's not movable, and pulling something you can't move. You could do this. You can see a simple way you could do this is setting up something really heavy that you can't move. Maybe it's like, say you can't squat 400 pounds, so you put that on the bar, but you just push up against it and you can't actually move it because you're not strong enough yet. So that bar is not actually moving, but you're putting a ton of force into the ground and into that bar and creating a lot of force that way. So that overcoming isometric, that's what overcoming is. You're overcoming that immovable object, or you're trying to. You're creating a lot of force that way. So it's three exercises that I've been doing. So it's a overcoming isometric squat for 5 seconds. Then we do a band accelerated depth drop. So having bands pull you down faster than gravity can. Again, taking on the impact, that force of the ground, creating that force in the ground. I don't want force plates, but there's been a lot of studies that I've seen from a lot of the guys I follow that have access to force plates, where these overcoming isos, you're creating a lot of force, a lot of intent. And then the depth drops, adding weighted to those, or band accelerated, are creating a lot of force into the ground too. So the overcoming iso squat, followed by the depth drop, and then into a approach vertical jump, or just a regular vertical jump, or a hurdle jump. So any type of jump that unweighted. So you're taking that, you're creating force, you're taking on force, and then you're using force, or manipulating force in jumping, using your ability to. And I'm trying to use this to hopefully help me jump higher. I've gotten better numbers in the 3 weeks I've been doing it. So I don't know if it's working, or if it's just because I suck so bad at jumping that just jumping more is helping me. But again, it's all just experimentation anyway. So, and I've been enjoying it. So you got the supersets, the contrast sets. So like I said, supersets typically just the 2 exercises. A lot of times I'll do, and then again, the reps in there, it depends. Maybe I'm doing a bench press and then a med ball throw. So like this could be a contrast superset. So you're doing something heavy and then something lighter and faster. So maybe I'm doing 5 reps on the bench press and 3 reps on the med ball pass. And we'll do 5 rounds of that, or whatever. Again, sets and reps can be anything you want. Typically, you do the same amount of sets for each of them, though. I mean, that's just, but who knows? You can do what you want. Training is your sandbox. Get in, dig in, and play, and create, build. I was going to say something else, I think, on supersets. But yeah, typically supersets you can do, as I mentioned, like opposite muscle groups, so that push or a pull, or lower body. Maybe you do a more quad dominant or knee dominant exercise, followed by a more posterior chain or or hamstring or something like that, hamstring and glute. So maybe you do a squat, uh, a goblet squat as one, and then superset it with a RDL, something just, or you could even do an upper body movement followed with a lower body movement as a superset. So again, any way you want to do it, there's no rules to training, and if people tell you there are, those rules are just made up. Find what works for you, what you enjoy, what keeps you motivated, keeps that intent going, keeps that engagement. Another thing I like to do a lot of times with my supersets, I'll throw in like a mobility exercise, or rather than just strictly resting. I originally learned these from Smitty, who calls them like Smitty and Joe D. They call them like fillers. So rather than just sitting and doing nothing, because again, if you're like me, you get impatient and hate sitting still. Kind of that ADD or whatever, ADHD, whatever one it is. You get kind of bored just sitting still doing absolutely nothing. So maybe you finish your bench press and then your med ball throws, and then you, rather than just sitting for resting and for a couple of minutes, you throw in some spine bend, some spinal twist or something, some spine work or hip work or some mobility drill that you like, a weak area maybe that you or an area that you're trying to improve the mobility of your groin or whatever it is, hips, back. So throw some of that in. Something that's not going to take away from your performance on the other movements, and something that's going to help make you feel good and keep you kind of more engaged, rather than just drifting off and ending up wasting 10 minutes on your phone or whatever it is in between sets there. So again, it's just another way you can set things up with these supersets or contrast sets. But again, the possibilities are endless. And again, supersets are more of just exercises paired together. Contrast sets are more of like typically a heavier followed by kind of that force curve, where you're doing something fast and something heavy and something slow, something like that, or something medium. Another way is the French contrast, which is typically four exercises. So it's usually something, hopefully I get this right, usually something heavy. So maybe like a heavy squat, maybe like 80% of your squat. Then I haven't done it in a while. It's some sort of plyometric or jump. It could be, I think it's a heavy one next, a heavier or a loaded jump. Then it's what is it? Oh, I can't remember. I'm going to look it up just so I'm not making up a bunch of BS. I know it's a heavy movement typically, followed by a loaded jump. Or maybe it's an unloaded jump, then a loaded jump, and then an unloaded. So like an unloaded could be something lighter, something that's pulling you, even like a band accelerated. So the bands are up and pulling you up, something like that. More so than just the loaded one where you're jumping with dumbbells or a trap bar or something like that. So again, it's I'm trying to look. Here's a good one. So yeah, a heavy compound lift. So yeah, a squat, a deadlift, a bench press, kind of a force oriented plyometric. Think of like the heavier, the ground contact, longer ground contact, then like a speed strength movement. So high speed with a load. So again, it could be a loaded jump, a med ball, something like that, med ball chest pass, something like that if you're doing upper body. And then a fast plyometric movement would be the fourth one. So again, I can dive more into that. That could be another thing itself. But again, that French contrast, popularized by I know Cal Dietz over at U of M, popularized a lot of it here. But I know This comes from a friend. What's the guy's name? I can't even think. Maybe it's in this article. I can't remember the French dude's name from it. But again, it's just basically 4 exercises. Gilles Comedy, I think, is who the guy who it comes from. But a heavy compound lift, a force-oriented plyometric movement. So I think the longer, so like a depth drop would be a good example. Because typically your ground contact time going to be longer on that. A speed strength movement, so a loaded jump, so maybe dumbbell jump. You're trying to jump as fast as possible still with the heavier load. And then there's just a quick jump. So something like that would be, so like if you're trying to do a vertical. So you do the first one, you do your heavy squat or what, let's just use squat as an example. Maybe you're doing 2 reps of squats. Boom, you do your 2 reps, you rest 20 seconds, go into a depth drop, jump. So a depth drop, boom, do 5 reps of that. Rest another 20 seconds, do your dumbbell loaded jumps, 4 to 5 reps of that or whatever you're doing. Rest 20 seconds and then do your like a band accelerated jump. 5 reps of that. And then you'd rest, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes after that. Then repeat through that. Again, you're not trying to rapidly go through it as fast as possible. You're doing 20, 30 seconds rest in between each exercise, 3 to 5 minutes typically after the whole set. Then do as many sets as needed. Again, sets and reps could be programmed. Typically on those, you're not going to do a ton of reps in each of them just because it's going to be a heavier lift. You don't need to do a lot of reps in the plyometrics or the jumps because you want these to be good in quality, good intent. And then you can just do more sets if needed. But again, you probably don't need a ton on that. So that's just another way to do it. It's advanced, but I mean, I think anyone can benefit from it. I think maybe if you're starting out, you probably don't need to do a lot of that. But again, a lot of starting out is just getting a variety of exercises in. You don't even have to worry about sets and reps. For like younger kids, when the younger kids I train, I don't really care about sets and reps. I give them a goal. This is a whole other thing. Give them a goal, a challenge of the day. So it's here, jump as high as you can on this hurdle and let them go and until they get bored with it. That's another way to program. I might call it disinterested if I'm training adults or myself. Do sets until disinterested. So I'll do jumps until I'm disinterested or my ability to jump or I'm just getting tired and I can't. So let's say I'm boom, set a hurdle. Let's say a hurdle jumps. Those are easy to talk about. So boom, I got the hurdle 25. That's my warm up one. Boom, hit that 30, 35. Boom, I'm jumping over these as it go up 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, whatever. We're getting up there. We're getting up to like 50. Get 50. Want to go up. Boom. 51 and knock the hurdle over. Try it again and boom, knock it over. Give it one more time, knock it over. Don't get it. So I'm kind of losing disinterest. Maybe I'm getting tired. Something like that. That would be an example of sets, reps until disinterested. So there's no specific sets or reps. You're just doing this exercise until you're feeling stimulated or feeling disinterested. So stimulated would be, I feel good, I'm ready to go. Disinterested would be like, I'm just getting tired, I lost interest, I'm not hitting any more jumps, I'm not completing them. So you're kind of just failing on them. So do that a lot, and it probably means you're done. That's a good time to call it quits. Another way to look at it is with sprints. So the other day I was sprinting on the track, have my GPS on, tells me how fast I'm going. I was at 20, then I was at like 20.15, then I was at like 20.6. Then I hit 21 point, I don't remember if it was 21.2 or something like that. 21.2 miles an hour. I'm like, boom, that's good. That's stimulated. I hit a PR. Let's call it good. Don't need to do any more because that's usually especially when you're sprinting, you blow something out. So there's different ways to do that. You don't even necessarily have to have sets and reps. You could just do until you're satisfied, you're disinterested, you set a PR. That's another way to do it. Some other ways I just jotted down. I know I'm going to be missing some ways. There's infinite ways to set things up. Would be timed. So you could set a time. So let's say I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock, and I am going to do as many push-ups as I can in that 5 minutes, taking breaks as needed. I'm just going to set a goal of however many push-ups I can do in that 5 minutes. So let's say I get 100 this week. Program it next week. You try to get more than 100 in that 5 minutes. That's another easy way to program. So you don't really have a specific number of sets or reps, but you have a time, and your goal is to get more each time you program that. That's a weekly challenge. I learned these again from Joe D. He did these a lot in his SB 911 program. Different challenges like that. You have a set time, whether it's 5, 10, 15 minutes, and it's one exercise. It could be one exercise, and you do that and try and set a new record of reps or weight each week on that. Another way with time is like density sets. So you could do, so a lot of time escalating density. So maybe you put 20 minutes on the clock, you pick 2 exercises, kind of not working the same muscle group. So let's say we did a bench press and a squat. And you know specifics, and you're going to do a certain amount of reps. So let's say we're going to do 5 reps of each, and we're going to get as many sets as we can done in that 20 minutes. So let's say I got, pick a weight, you're going to keep the same weight. So let's say we got 150 on the bench, boom, hit 5 on that. We got 200 on the squat, so we do that. So we do 5, we rest as needed. And then we do that and we count and see how many sets we got on this week. Then we try it again next week, and we try and beat that number of sets, or we can add time or whatever it is. So again, the opportunities, the possibilities are endless with this stuff. So time, sets, and reps. So you're trying to set a certain amount of reps per time, certain amount of sets per time at a certain number of reps too, or a certain weight. Again, use your brain. Come up with whatever you want. Time to take some of these ideas and meld them together. Another way with time is you could do like a countdown. So I do a lot of impulses. I don't know if you've seen my videos or not with the impulse. I got these from DAC Performance, and it's like a countdown timer. So let's say 30 seconds, and I'm going to get as many reps as I can. Similar with the push-ups in 5 minutes or whatever it is that time, but countdown timer, but you're going as fast as you can and trying to get as many reps as you can in that 30 seconds or 45 seconds, a minute, whatever it is. So that's another way. Another way with time would be the time that you take to do a rep. A slow lower on eccentric. So maybe it's a 5-6 second eccentric, 10-second eccentric. So eccentric's like the lowering on a squat. So when you're going down, that would be eccentric. So take your time going down. Or the isometric. As I mentioned, overcoming isometric is when you're moving an immovable object or going against an immovable object. Yielding isometrics would be like holding at the bottom. So maybe you got a 5-second hold at the bottom, a 3-second hold. Maybe you're just doing isometrics where it's like a 3-minute iso hold lunge. So you're doing that lunge and you're holding at 3 minutes at the bottom. That's a whole nother way to do it. So you can do it for a set amount of time. 1 rep at 3 minutes or whatever it is. A squat hold or a wall sit or a lunge or a push-up hold at the bottom. So that's another way. Or you could take a minute to lower, slow lowers. These are fun. Not really, but they're effective. So take a split squat again, and you take 30 seconds to go down really slow, or a minute to go down, or even slower. 2 minutes. I've done 2 minutes. 2 minutes to lower doesn't look like you're moving. You have to like if you watch the video, you're moving very, very, very slowly. You have to speed it up, put it in fast forward, and it looks like you're doing a regular rep. But slow lowers, slow raises. So that concentric, that's the going up phase to make it easier for you. Like on a squat, when you shoot back up, that's concentric. So you could time that as well. So you can set these different times. You could do all 3 of them. You could do a slow lower, pause, and then a slow raise. So you could do 1 minute down, 1 minute up. 2 minutes down, 2 minutes up. 3 minutes down, explode up. whatever it is, you can set these up however you want to. Find what's working best for you. So again, setting time is a good one. One thing I like to do if I'm I don't know if you've ever heard of velocity-based training. Another way to set up is until you have a drop off. So perform a number of sets. So you have a specific number of sets, or you don't have a specific number of sets, but you have a specific number of reps you're gonna do. So let's say I'm doing velocity-based training, so I'm working on moving this bar as fast as I can. I have a little sensor that push band that I strap on a bar or my body, if I'm doing something like that, to measure how fast I'm moving the bar. So let's say I'm doing a deadlift, and I'm going to perform sets of 2 until my bar speed drops below, I don't know, we're going to do fast, so drops below 1 meter per second. So I'm going to put a weight on there that I can do. It's challenging, but I can do for a meter per second. So I'm hammering this out. 1, 2, the first 2, boom, it's 1.3 or whatever. And I'm going to keep doing sets of 2 until that speed is lower than 1 or lower than 0.8 or 0.7. You can set that if you have a velocity-based training system or a sensor. You can set that at any speed, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to go super fast, you're trying to go heavy, maybe it's a super heavyweight and you want to move it 0.5. And once that drops below there, then you're good. Cut it off, drop it. That's what I call until dropping off. No fancy name for it, but I like to do those with speed-based lifting. Or you could even I like to do a lot with sprinting as well. Or jumping even. So sprinting, if I'm doing fly 10, so I'm building up, boom, I hit, okay, I got a 1.03, the next one 1.02, 1.1, a 1. So we're getting faster. Then on that 5th one, it's back to 1.3. So I'm like, that's still within the range, but then next one's like 1.05. So that's like a drop off. You can set that drop off point at a certain amount of percentage of your top one. So maybe it's a 5% drop from your top one or 3% drop from your top speed. And once your speed starts to slow down that much, call it. That type of thing. Or it's just once your speed starts to slow down, call it. So until drop off, I call them. I know, again, fancy name, but that's just another way to program sets and reps. And you do as many. So say I did 4, the 5th one, 5 fly 10s, and then that 6th one, speed dropped off. So then we call it quit. So I did 6 total sets of fly 10s, of 1 rep of fly 10s. So that is another way to do it. So again, hopefully these helped. I'm sure there's more ways that I just am not able to think, but of right now that I've done in the past. But again, there's no set rules for training. There's no set number of sets and reps you have to do every time. Get creative. Find what you like. Find what drives engagement for you. What helps you make progress. And you can mix and match. You can use different things for lifting, different things for sprinting, different things for jumping, different things within each training session, within each week, within each day. As you go forward, find what you like, what you enjoy, whether it's straight sets or supersets or drop off sets, whatever it may be. The possibilities are endless. You're limited by your creativity, your imagination. But if you have any questions on any of these methods, any of these sets and rep schemes, drop them below. Send me an email, trevor@tagpn.com. I'd love to help you out and see if we can come up with some ideas for you if you're just stuck and you're not creative in that way. But if you want to train with me, train along with me, join me on my Athlete for Life online training team. Follow along with the same program I'm doing. I do a lot of these different sets and rep schemes. I rarely ever do straight sets because, again, I get bored with that stuff and I don't find it as effective. But again, there's that way it works too. If it works for you, that's great. Do it. Find what works for you. You are not the same as everyone else. So again, experiment. Use yourself as your own experimentation. Be your own Frankenstein's monster and use yourself to explore, experiment, and discover the possibilities or what is possible for you. So Be an athlete for life, everyone, and we'll talk to you again soon.